What's happening, Chris? What's going on, Sasquatch?
Yo, what up, Tactical Santa? What's going on, buddy?
Oh man, just enjoying my day. Action-packed week of wrestling. Actually, action-packed couple weeks of wrestling, man.
Absolutely. So
Lots of
much
cool
that
stuff
make my
happening.
head explode.
Yep, yep. But yeah, lots of cool stuff happening. We got some people in the room. Say hi to them really quick. We got 30 Spray J. What's going on,
You
brother? We got Sleigh Bell Mowing. What's happening,
up,
Alan?
Slay? Woo!
We got Baker. What's going on, brother?
Baker.
Alrighty. So,
Welcome to the inaugural episode. Woo! I thought I'd dress up for the occasion.
Is that the $1 million man
It,
tuxedo you got on there?
you know what? It says I'm classy, but I like to party,
There
and
we
everybody has
go.
a price.
Man, I'll tell you what, he was such a cool individual, man. I think his kind of gimmick was kind of before its time.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And it was all based off of Vince McMahon. So that was Vince McMahon. And
Right.
really off topic before we really get started.
Yeah.
Stupid story. Last year, I met Virgil, and
Nice.
mind you, he's like half crippled in his hands.
Yeah.
He said he killed 7 men one time. And he's like, and he threatened to kill the promoter that brought him to this event, this convention I was at. And I'm standing there and I'm like, can you just sign my poster so I can leave? Because it was super awkward because he was mad at him while trying to talk to me.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, can I just get this? And I'm going, And mind you, like I'm a big dude and he's a
Right.
small little man who's crippled. I'm like, I don't really
Right.
want to hear any of this.
Right. Well, how many different wrestlers have you met, Sasquatch?
Oh, going back to when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, probably hundreds because I'm in a really big hotbed of indie places around here in the South Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
probably hundreds, if not thousands, of
Wow.
wrestlers in my life.
Right.
Met them a lot of them when I was younger, and now I'm paying to meet them again when I'm older, like a
Right.
schmuck
Right.
that I am. So
I've only met two wrestlers.
mhm.
I met growing up, I used to work out at Gold's Gym and I used to have a trainer. And I remember one day my trainer called me up. He was like, "Hey man, you're a big Ultimate Warrior fan, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "You got to get to the gym." So I got to the gym and it was crazy because here's this big dude. And I mean, I'm probably 16 at the time.
Mhm.
And this dude is just a monster, and he's over there and he's working out. And I was so scared. I'm like, I don't want to go like make him mad. This guy's a monster. And I come, like the trainer's like, no, go ahead, go just walk over there and be cool. So I walk over, I'm looking at him, and he's kind of looking at me. I'm like, Mr. Warrior, and he goes, grabs my hand, he goes, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. He's all freaking, and I'm like there, I'm like, I'm like, well, I
Oh,
can say I shook his hand, but man, he was a big dude. And then, do you remember when WCW had the monster trucks?
yes, the Hogan and the giant one, I think it was.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
those.
That,
At the Pontiac Silverdome, they used to do monster trucks. So
uh,
I went to it and I had pit passes.
oh
So I
wow.
went down the pits and Diamond Dallas Page was there.
Woo! Yeah.
Right, and I gotta tell you what, man, he was such a cool guy.
No,
Myself
absolutely.
and my 2 other buddies that were there, we talked to him for about 15, 20 minutes, and he was just, like, laid back, down to earth, super cool. It was awesome. I had a picture I took, and of course, I can't find it anywhere because it's been so long, but he was such an awesome guy, man. A lot of those guys were so really cool when you got
Oh,
to meet 'em,
absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and even some of the ones nowadays, like the nicest wrestler I ever met, I had lunch with Roddy Piper like 6 months before he died,
Oh, man,
and
yeah.
mind you, very short guy. He was like five
Yeah,
six, but
yeah,
the nicest guy. There was like 15 of us in this room. He stayed, signed all of our autographs, talked to all of us for a little bit. I was the last one
right,
in the room because I was taking photos of everybody. And he talked to me, and I was like, and I'm just, I'm towering over him, but the nicest guy in the world. I was like,
right,
it's
right.
crazy.
So let me ask you
Yeah,
this. So we talk about all these wrestlers,
yeah.
is there a certain type of wrestler like, when you were growing up, was there a certain type of wrestler type that you always followed? Like, for example, mine, I love the Ultimate Warrior, I love Sting, I love the Road Warriors. By far, the Road Warriors, my favorite tag team. It was something about these dudes that were kind of mysterious, wearing the face paint and just acting crazy. I don't know. I just those guys I kind of gravitated to, you know?
Um, when I first got started watching wrestling, like the middle to late '80s,
Yeah,
you had these big, larger than life guys.
right.
Andre the Giant was the one that originally drove me in because
Yeah,
just because I was bigger than all the other kids, and he was a giant.
right, right.
Then I went to from then. I was a big fan of Demolition and like some of the heels and Ted DiBiase.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then when I got into high school, when the whole Monday Night Wars was, I actually used to tune in to WCW, me and my friends, for the cruiserweights, the first
Yeah,
hour, hour and a half. And then the
yeah,
back half, we would used to go over to WWF and watch
right,
that. That's because
right,
the cruiserweights were that the whole like Chris Jericho, Dean
right,
Malenko,
right,
Rey Mysterio without the mask, bull crap.
right.
So
You know,
it was like that.
those guys I don't think got enough respect, the
Oh,
Cruiserweight, 'cause,
absolutely
man,
not.
they were doing some stuff, but, you know, what a great time, though, the Monday Night Wars were.
Yeah,
I mean, I gotta tell you what, man, that was in my opinion, that was probably the greatest time to be a wrestling fan
yeah.
because there was so much talent, so
Hmm.
much stuff going on. My favorite faction ever, a lot of people always say, um my favorite is definitely NWO. When the NW the only reason why is when NW I think the reason why is I don't think anybody ever thought Hogan was gonna turn heel,
Oh no. Well,
ever.
now that you watch it back, Bobby
Right,
Heenan gives it away.
right,
But when
right,
it happened live, oh,
right,
absolutely not. I did not see that coming at all.
right,
Yeah,
and
like
and I think when you look at it, like, the NWO
mhm.
kinda opened doors for a lot of other factions. I mean, the original faction that was probably dominant was the Four Horsemen, without a
Oh,
doubt,
so
okay?
absolutely.
But you get into the NWO and what they did, and I think the only what kinda was the downfall of the NWO is it started off really cool because it was a tight unit,
And then
and then it was
everybody,
everybody was part of
yeah,
NWO, and then
yeah,
it got kinda weird because then you had Wolfpack NWO, and then you had the le
Hollywood, and
Hollywood and
then
all
you had
that.
the LWO, and then there was a
Yeah.
Japan version of the
Right,
NWO.
right, right,
Yeah, like the whole the four or five.
right,
Once they got past the giant, then it just went to hell. You know what I
right.
mean? So
But another good thing that it kind of forced out of the NWO,
mm,
it forced a new really cool character and
Glacier, right?
Sting,
Oh,
Glacier. But Sting going from surfer party boy Sting, the
yep.
Muscle Beach type to
The,
that
the
dark
neon, yeah,
crow,
the crow sting, yeah.
Sting, and that, that kind of like was like, holy,
and
because if I
and now
remember right,
I was gonna say, and now he looks like a Scottish Terrier sting. So
right, but if I remember correctly, you probably know better than me. Didn't he go like almost 8 or 9 months without speaking? They always had him up in
yeah,
the thing,
yeah,
and he was up in the rafters,
yeah,
and he never spoke.
yeah.
And it was like 8 or 9 months. And when you look back at that time, WWE and WCW were so great at storytelling because they
Mhm.
knew, like, hey, if it takes 8 months to build this story
Yeah.
for the payoff,
I
we're gonna
mean,
do it.
just look what they did with Lex Luger when he
Right,
made his re-debut with WCW. He was on Monday Night Raw at the same time,
right,
and yeah,
right.
and so you're like, what? Well, because one
Which
was
is
live, one was taped,
right,
and they were like, what the hell? No, nobody knew because if you were swapping back and forth, you're like, but yeah. Just like when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash came over,
yeah,
Scott
yeah,
Hall still talking in the Razor Ramon accent, and we're thinking, hey, Razor's here now.
right,
So
right.
absolutely, it's just that yeah, you hit on it. The Four Horsemen. Um, I'm trying to think. You know what? I like that got like almost no play when
Mhm.
Raven did his flock.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
Raven
a
and the Flock.
big like when Perry
Yeah.
Saturn was Perry Saturn and
Yes.
Kidman was a
Yep.
really young Kidman. And
Right.
then Raven sitting there kind of being like a crybaby, but giving out, Edgar Allan Poe quotes at the same time. It
Right.
works.
Right.
So,
You know, and that's the thing, um, some people like him, some people hate him, but I really think there was a lot of talent in Eric Bishop's mind.
hmm hmm
Um, when they gave him control, I mean, he was like, "All right, let's do this," and there was so much cool stuff that happened.
absolutely.
Yeah, but before that time, I mean, like you talk about, you had the Four Horsemen, and they were running wild,
Yeah.
and, I had mentioned the Road Warriors Legion of Doom, and what was funny about them is I always liked them. I liked them when they were bad guys because you know what? They looked like bad guys, they had the shoulder pads, and the funny
Yeah.
thing was I think that was the first time ever that even when a tag team or whatever went bad, went heel,
You still
people
got cheers.
still
Yeah.
clapped.
Mhm.
People liked it.
Yep.
And the more they did it, the more they turned into baby faces, and it was kinda
Yeah.
crazy, but they just dominated
Yeah,
everywhere they went.
I know everybody says this is a knockoff of Road Warriors. I
Right,
was a big Demolition guy, and now
right.
that I'm older, I'm like, why did I at 10 years old like a bunch of guys dressed up like dominatrixes? I never understood that, but it
Yep,
is what it is. But
yep.
everybody says that was the knockoff team. No, no, no. The Powers of Pain were the knockoff
Yes,
team,
yes.
and
Yep.
yeah, and it
I
just
I
they
never
never got over
thought
it.
I never thought, like, when I viewed it, I never thought Demolition was a knockoff of the Road Warriors. I know when I was growing up, like, people are like, "Oh, they're a knockoff." I'm like, "They're not." The only thing they have in common is they're wearing face paint.
And the
The
spikes, and that
and
was
the
it.
spikes, right.
Yeah,
They're a whole different, and then they had the extra ability of having the 3rd member, so they
yeah,
were doing all that kinda stuff. I never viewed them, but you were right, the Powers of Pain to me,
yeah,
I'm like, "That's the knockoff
yeah.
team," you know?
Exactly,
But
100%.
to be fair, those guys were big and bad too, man.
Oh,
Those guys were
actually,
yeah.
one of them was a Samoan. You think I'm going to get into a fight with any of those? Absolutely
Nope,
not.
nope,
Absolutely,
nope.
one of those guys looks at me. Even like I met those guys last year too. They're nice guys. They're nice senior gentlemen now. But even then, it's I'm still kind of scared just to look at them. So
So, yep, yep. I do have Ted DiBiase, the $1 million man on me right here.
I
But
don't
yeah,
know which one.
when you mentioned Raven and the Flock, I think what kind of crushed it is when do you remember when Goldberg was doing his streak
Yes,
and
unfortunately,
he yeah, it seemed like he single-handedly dismantled the Flock one by one. Because they let the streak go through him,
yes,
and
yeah.
that kind of killed and squashed all the momentum with Raven and the Flock,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
absolutely. And then they try to, I guess they try to recreate that when they did the him in WWF,
Yeah,
but at that time they were all older and
right,
it didn't work.
right,
Like because Raven was coming off of that ECW run, And
Yeah.
unfortunately, me being a young kid in Nebraska, we didn't get ECW until it hit TNN,
Yeah.
and that was the watered down, crappy ECW.
Right,
And
right, right,
so it's just like I go back and I watch it, and I've been to the ECW arena in that tiny bingo hall that it is, and I'm
right,
like, wow, they got everything out of it. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I'm not gonna lie, when I was watching WCW back in the day originally, I was a Goldberg fan. Um, I liked him. I
I get
thought
it.
he brought something to me, he was kinda like Ultimate Warrior version 2.0 in the
Oh,
fact that,
absolutely.
they pumped him up and he would just
Mhm.
go out there and his matches were quick, but
He
at
did the
least
four
he
moves.
yep, but at least he was agile and he could move.
Yeah,
He didn't look stiff. He was an athlete. He was a football player, so he could move and all that. But um, once he got into WWF, it was kind of weird the first time he was there. And
yeah,
you know, um, at that time, what was it? The big one was I know he beat The Rock right at
mhm,
that time, and then the big match was with Brock, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
that was garbage. And then
yeah,
he ruined it. And he started ruining his legacy when he started doing the stuff with the Undertaker. And they're
yeah,
both
yeah.
like 70, and they couldn't do anything. And
Right. Well,
yeah.
well, you know what I'm scared of is there's a
What's that?
rumor because when Pat McAfee got choked out by Gunther, or that's it.
Yeah,
Supposedly the big rumor is because if you remember a couple months ago when Gunter had made some comments and Goldberg jumped over the fence to come after him,
yeah.
the rumor is Goldberg was training and Goldberg's coming to fight Gunter. Now, the problem with that is that I'm a Goldberg fan, but I'm like, dude, you need to stop because you're
Yeah,
ruining everything that you did before,
exactly.
But
Exactly.
I mean,
I'm a big Gunther fan. I love
right.
Gunther.
I, I like
Gunther
Gun-
is top
I
three in my
like
book
Gun-
right now.
I like Gunther too, but my problem is that I guess if you look at Goldberg, $20 is $20, right? He's getting paid to come and do that,
Yeah,
and whatever. But
yeah,
everybody knows that even if he trains, right, and he's
yeah.
going to be in good shape for his age, right?
Yeah.
But dude, it's not the same. You're not
Oh no,
Goldberg
no.
of 30 years
Yeah,
ago, you're
exactly,
not
exactly.
yeah, it'd be different if Brock Lesnar was showing up because Brock is still in shape. He's
Yep,
a monster.
yep,
It's still believable that he can do all this stuff, right?
yep, yep.
Where with Goldberg, you're like, man, I love you, dude, but you gotta hang it up,
Just go,
man.
just go away. Unfortunately,
Right,
wrestlers don't know when the wrestler retires. They never retire, and they.
right,
Now, I get it. You do a job, especially in the entertainment business, for 20, 30 years of your life. It's hard to walk
right,
away from that. I get that. So
right.
yeah, nobody wants to see us. It's kind of like watching Ric Flair wrestle again. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody
Right.
does.
You
Uh,
you
that
know you
I
know,
was
and
going to say
that's
I was going to answer Baker's question.
yeah,
I've seen the first two seasons. I haven't seen this season of Dark Side of the Ring.
I haven't
Um,
yet. Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't
so
yet.
they do some really good stuff for the most part. Some of the stuff is kind
Right.
of eh, but yeah, they do some really good stuff. So
You know the thing with Ric Flair though that's different about Ric Flair is I wouldn't mind if he came out and they let him talk and let
oh
him
yeah,
be just let him be that crazy Ric Flair, right? I
yeah.
don't want to see him wrestler. I don't want to see him wrestle.
I liked what he did towards his end of his run at TNA when he was just excuse my
Yeah.
language, that ape shit crazy old man where he's
Yes,
dropping
yes.
elbows on
Yep.
his coat and having a woo off with
Right.
Black
Yeah.
Cheesemo, Jay
Yeah.
Lethal.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that was great. Don't
Right.
when he needs some sort of
Right.
stability meds. That's
Right.
great, Ric Flair. But any other time, like now, he's just a decrepit old man that's just walking around
Right.
wooing like he has some sort of brain aneurysm or something.
We've talked about this, and I could segue into this. What if they brought Ric Flair, right,
Mm.
and kind of had him guide a little bit, bring back Enzo Amore, and just
Or,
have Rick kind of prep him and be like, "Look, dude, all we want you to do is be that crazy dude on the microphone that we know you
yeah,
can be,
so a
and
manager
just
will too.
pretty much a manager." Because the coolest thing is I still remember, and in my head watching when him and what was his
Big
tag
Cat.
team? Big Cass would
Yeah.
come out and how he would do, and he had his gimmick and how he would move around his moves,
Mhm.
and you're like, I miss that. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I want to see. But I
Yeah.
mean, I think WWE is missing Enzo Amore. They're
Yeah.
missing an opportunity with that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Right now, he like we were talking before the show about this, and we
Yep.
we came up to the point where he was like a Piper, like this versions of a Piper, Roddy Piper, and a Flair mixed together, where he knew
Yeah.
how to push that line, get under
Right.
your skin, but then say
Right.
some of the craziest, funniest things
Right.
at the same time while he's doing it,
Right. Right.
and it makes sense. And he's, you know, a lot of times, especially some of the wrestlers turn managers, they can't be bigger than the stars that they're managing. It just,
Right.
you know, unless you're Diamond Page, Diamond Dallas Page, who was a
Yeah.
manager
Right.
and he towered over all the other people, it usually
Right.
doesn't happen.
Right.
So
I
he's
mean,
at the height. He's like less than 6 foot. So
right.
he's a perfect height
Right.
for a manager. And
Right.
there's only right now really two hype men in all of wrestling right now for
Mhm.
the upper ones. You got Paul
Right.
Heyman
Yep.
and you got MVP, and then that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because everybody else is either a valet or they're their tag team partner that's on the mic, you know.
Right, right.
So
And that's the thing is, I got his, Instagram. I think he goes by the Realist G now, doesn't he? The Realist
I
One or
think
something like.
so. Yeah,
Yeah, and I remember stumbling across that about 2 months ago because I was like, "I don't know what happened to the guy," and then all of a sudden, it comes on my Instagram feed, I'm like, "That's Enzo," and I'm watching him, and that dude
oh,
has the gift
absolutely,
of gab, like,
absolutely.
yeah, you're like, "Where are you coming up with this stuff?" It is just boom,
Yeah,
So, yeah.
lately he's been in front of like football stadiums just talking
Yeah,
junk. He's been talking
yeah,
junk on AEW, and that to me is cracking up. Where he's like,
yeah,
"I don't want AEW." I'm like, "Okay, you don't want to make millions of dollars, not do anything while being at home." I'm like,
right,
Okay,
right, right. Well, 30 Spray J wants to know, do we think Lesnar will ever come back? And
no, no,
yeah, um, I don't know the legal situation that's going on with it. I know that supposedly they've kind of erased him off the WWE web. I don't know what's going on with that.
yeah.
It's
Jay,
kind of,
I was gonna
it's,
say Jay also asked who was the most dangerous wrestler ever. Oh, that's a tough one. Uh,
I can tell you who I think the most sloppiest wrestler ever was.
who's that?
Dude, I absolutely think that Booker T was the sloppiest wrestler. I mean, dude, when I'd watch him, and I'm not taking away from him, but when
Mhm.
you look at him and a lot of his moves, I think that when he got brought to WWE, because when WWE bought WCW, I
Yeah,
think he was just right time, right opportunity. He was the right
exactly.
guy. But to me, if you go back and watch a lot of his matches, he's pretty sloppy, and it just, I don't know. But dangerous wise,
I'm just trying to think. I mean, there were some. I mean, I don't know. It's a hard question because you got to think: is it dangerous or are they just being unsafe? You know what I mean?
right,
'Cause dangerous is, hey, you're
right,
going to hurt everybody. Like you
right,
could say Goldberg at that point was unsafe.
right.
It was dangerous because he ended, Bret Hart's career. I mean, it's just
The problem with
not
that
a
argument though is when you look at it and you're looking at it like the problem is we're not the two guys that were in the ring, right? And we
exactly.
don't know what was agreed upon, and we don't know whose timing was off and what was going on. I like Bret Hart, but sometimes you have to wonder if Bret Hart's telling the truth about everything. And it's one of those things where it's no different than going out and playing football on a football field, right? You're involved in something, injuries happen, freak accidents happen. Not defending Goldberg, but being that we weren't in the ring, we weren't one of those two. We don't really know what went on. I don't know if I call him unsafe. I would say this. I think Goldberg is one of those guys, like you said, he was a four-move pony, right? He had four tricks, four moves he could do. He had a gimmick, kind of like the Ultimate Warrior. Come down, do it fast, end it fast, because when you watch Goldberg matches, if they go a long time,
Oh, he doesn't know what to do.
they're not good.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
think that I think that's the difference where a lot of people try to compare Brock and Goldberg.
Hmm.
Brock can work a match. He
Hmm.
can work a long match.
Yep.
Goldberg, well, only way Goldberg can do it is if he's got somebody in the ring with him that can make him look good and can
Absolutely,
call the match.
100%,
You
100%.
know, like I'll tell you this, I think there was a match in WCW, and it was actually a longer Goldberg match, and he wrestled Macho Man.
Yeah,
Now, yeah,
I think
and
so.
Macho Man is one of those guys that can make anybody look good.
Oh yeah, and then he was also one of those super preparers where he had to go over every
Right,
move and
right,
like he would like what is it? Ricky Steamboat said the
yeah,
told a story about him
mhm,
and Macho from WrestleMania 3, where they
right,
spent 2 weeks going
right,
over every move of that match, and I'm like, I can't remember my name half of the time. I don't
right,
know how you're going to remember that many moves at any one time. You know?
right. You know, I think those guys like Ultimate Warrior and Goldberg and guys like that kinda get a bad rep because people think they're dangerous, they wrestle stiff, but I think it's because they were just people that they weren't wrestlers.
Yep, they were entertainers. Yeah,
They were entertainers,
yep.
and, you know, if you look at, let's put it this way, as Jim Ross would say, right? Did they put asses in the seats?
100% they did. 100%.
Yeah. So
One of my closest friends, even to this day, will defend the Ultimate Warrior, and I'm
right,
like, "Hey, okay, sure," and we'll have a conversation, and
right,
uh, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm done having this conversation because we're just going around in circles."
right,
You know what I
right.
mean? So,
I think at the time, not defending Ultimate Warrior, but if you look at him, he was kind of like that breath of fresh air that was needed for a minute,
yep,
and then,
yep,
letting some other stuff happen because
absolutely.
it was believable. He was the only one at that time that was believable that could beat Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and I mean, because you got to remember, Andre was it was old
Right,
Andre. You know, that's the
right,
Andre that we really knew because you're not too
right,
much older than I am,
right,
and so that was Andre that couldn't move. He did he didn't really do anything. He was just
right,
big and there.
right,
And there was nobody else out there. I'm like, it was
right.
either him or the Undertaker. And the Undertaker was
Too
too
new.
new at the time that didn't
Right,
really do anything. It wasn't he wasn't there yet. You know,
right, right.
so
But I think he was kind of like a vessel
yeah.
because Vince knew, because at that point in time, Hulkamania was getting stale.
Oh, 100%. They were. He was getting booed.
Yeah, it
Like
was,
he was getting booed, and that was one of the
right,
main reasons why he got you know why his
right,
contract wasn't renewed with the WWF.
right,
And
right,
then after a while, the same thing happened when he was at WCW. He was getting booed
right,
because everybody, you only can
right,
say, take your vitamins for 30 years for so
right,
long before,
right,
everybody stops listening to you.
right. But to defend Hogan, though, if it wasn't for Hogan and
Oh,
Hulkamania,
100%.
it 100%
We,
wouldn't be
we
there.
would not be having this conversation.
Right, right,
So,
right. He did a lot of stuff that, I mean, I still remember watching Rocky 3
yeah, yeah,
and seeing him in there, and I'm like, "Wow," "look at this dude,
exactly.
he's there." So he broke down
Exactly.
boundaries,
Exactly. And now we don't talk about him.
right?
How the world's turned, right?
Right, right. But, though, would he be one that would be on your Rushmore?
Um, my Rushmore is a little bit different than everybody else's Rushmore.
Sure, sure.
So you got Stone Cold, you got The Rock, you got Undertaker, and Chris Jericho.
Yeah,
Before AEW, Chris Jericho.
sure,
He's my other one, and then
sure.
with caveat with Ric Flair up there too. He's
Right,
like that's 4B, all right. But
right.
that would be mine. Like I said, I'm a little bit different because I
Sure.
I think I think at the time for the '90s, Chris Jericho was the man on the mic, and
Yeah,
for the size, he was great. And
right.
that I will defend the younger Chris Jericho until the day I die.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I call him
Like
the Who Jericho when he had the little ponytail
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Rufus the bodyguard.
Right, right. Mine would probably be just because, like we said, if it wasn't for him, wrestling
Yep.
wouldn't have been mainstream. So it'd be Hogan, it would be Ric Flair. Um, I'd probably have to put Sting up there, and it would be no, it wouldn't be a toss up. Undertaker,
Yeah.
and with Rock on there because Young Rock, not when he first came in, but when he first started getting championship runs and
Yeah,
when he was good on the mic and everything, he was really good.
yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of him now, but I understand why he's doing what he's doing, you
He is.
know?
I always say he is Dwayne Johnson playing The Rock. It's not The
Yeah,
Rock anymore. So like
right,
I don't. Everybody's like, well, The Rock is back. No, I'm like, no, he's not.
right,
The actor is back. He is
right,
not. You know.
right. You know, um, talking about stuff, so, like, it kind of, like, I don't know, I wasn't really happy that John Cena broke Ric Flair's record.
So,
I wasn't disappointed that he won because I knew it was gonna happen, but it was kinda like I really wanted Ric Flair to have the 7th, the most title runs. I don't know, it just to me, he was such a classy
oh yeah,
champion,
hundred
you know?
percent, 100%. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. He was.
Yep,
Yeah, yeah. There's not much I can say about Ric Flair that hasn't already been said. And
right, right,
I thought of him being crazy, and
right,
you know what I
right.
mean. So
And a lot of people are bagging on, John Cena for what he did, but I'm gonna tell you what, I think it's kind of ingenious because it's bringing a whole new type of angle
yeah.
to
The
wrestling right now.
Yeah, the only thing I'm not liking about this whole John Cena is I don't like the cadence that he uses when he's on the mic.
Yeah,
Just because you talk slow doesn't mean
right,
you're a heel. That just means you're slow. You know,
right,
I'm like, you can still. I mean, just think of when he was doing that Doctor Thugonomics 20 years ago. He was
right,
spitting out stuff, and he was still a bad guy. Like for
right,
bad guy.
right,
But yeah, like you don't have to talk that the cadence is killing me. I'm like
right.
what he did on him and Orton did on Friday,
Yeah,
where they were going after each other, and it just like his cadence, like I can hear the tone, but the cadence needs just to speed up like a half a
yeah,
notch. Maybe.
right, right. Yeah, it's kinda crazy that he hasn't really brought out kind of like more of that old style that he used to have on the microphone on how he could talk, and get it out there because he's just I mean, sometimes I look at him like, "Oh, great, Cena's out here now, it's 30 minutes," you
Exactly.
know? Like, "Come
Exactly.
on,
And
let's."
it's like I get where he's going, and I get where what they're doing. But like I said,
Right,
it kills me when like the whole beef between him and Cody, before
right,
Mania, when they were going at each other on the mic, that was great. I love that. But like
right,
I said, it's his voice is
right,
killing me right now.
right. You know, I don't think so here's my prediction, I don't think Orton's gonna win. I think there's gonna be some interference, something's gonna happen because I think Cena's gonna hold the belt probably until the last pay-per-view of this farewell tour.
Uh,
You know, I don't know who's gonna get it from him. I don't think Cody's coming back to get it from him. Um,
you think Seth is going to with that the new
y you know
which by the way
Yeah,
I think Paulie Dangerously is starting to
yeah,
redo the Dangerous
right,
Alliance.
right.
He just needs the old school cell phone, and he has it right there. He needs one more guy, and he has it.
I'm gonna tell you what, the new guy they got with them, Braun Breaker,
Oh,
man, that guy, dude
R.I.P. to
dude
Carlito
dude,
after that.
when he hit him and he had so much motion, boom, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, look at this
And
guy." I mean,
and if you can ever see the video from him, shot from another angle on my fan cam,
yeah,
dude just killed him. He killed him.
dude,
100% killed him. He was dead. I was like, oh,
yeah, yeah.
it was
And,
painful.
and that's, I made this prediction the other night. I was talking to some people. I said, "Braun Breaker is gonna be heavyweight champion here
Oh,
within a year, I think, within a year."
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a monster, and then, his cousin is coming, so Scott Steiner's son
Okay.
signed,
Oh, wow.
and he's a monster too. So, what's kinda cool is we may have a Steiner Brothers version 2.0 coming soon.
You know what? I could be all for that.
Yeah.
So Scott Steiner look like Scott, but sound like Rick, because that's the opposite way of how Rick's
Right,
son
right.
looks. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
they showed a picture of, Scott's son, and he was in his football jersey, right? And
Uh,
he's pretty buff, and he was wearing, remember the old chainmail that Scott
oh,
Snyder would make? The big, yeah, and
unbelievable.
he was wearing
So
it, and he had
stupid.
sunglasses on, and I'm
Uh,
like, "Oh, dude, it's Big Papa Pump number 2 right there, it's
I
coming."
see. Like I remember when Scott Steiner was, you know, when he was still wearing the Michigan jacket,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thinner one that was still buff, but he wasn't. He didn't have the
right.
tennis ball for arm type thing,
Right,
which
right.
always freaked me out.
He left on injury and came back like 50 pounds heavier and just shredded.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then then
Yeah,
then he, then he went to TNA, and then that
yeah,
became the whole thing. And yeah,
right, right. But yeah, it'll be cool to see. It's interesting to see some of these guys, their kids coming in, man, and they
it
are,
just makes me feel old. I'm sorry. I'm doing that
right,
now with the professional athletes I grew up as watching as a teenager, and now their
right,
kids are in the league, and I'm like,
right,
no.
right. A big guy that I think has gotten misused. Either I think there's two things. Either he just agrees because I know he does a lot with his brother. So Braun Strowman, that
Forget,
guy,
forget
dude.
that guy. Forget that guy. He has an issue with his foot,
Okay,
and so that's why when he does that stupid
okay,
train thing, I'm personally not a fan of his.
okay.
Um, for personal reasons I'm not going to go
Right,
into.
right, right,
But
right.
whenever you watch him when he does that, he doesn't run like a normal person. He like
Yeah,
run hops because he has
yeah.
to because
Okay,
he screwed up his leg and he has
right,
issues with his foot or whatever. And I
right.
just like you're big and that's all you are. You
Gotcha.
don't
Right,
you don't have a move set outside of power slam, power slam, power slam,
right.
choke
I
slam.
was I was kind of like when they brought the Wyatt Six out,
Yeah, I was wishing he was on that. I really was.
right? Because I
And
think they
then
would fit him perfect because he wouldn't have to be,
yeah,
you know what I mean? He could be
yeah.
part of the group,
You're
just do what
the
he
you're
needs.
the muscle, and
Right,
now what are they doing with that group? Nobody knows. Like they've been off TV,
right,
and like I understand Bo Dallas has been injured or whatever,
right.
and he just came back, but the story like they brought him back, and then the storyline died,
Boom. Right,
and I'm like, okay, so you got this group of people that you just signed and you brought back, and you were building up
right.
for what? What are you guys doing with
But you see, they always kind of did that, even with Bray Wyatt. Like
it?
they
Yeah,
built him, and then like I'm gonna tell you what was it when so they built up the Fiend, right?
yeah,
And the Fiend first run was awesome, man. Like, do you remember the first match, that one of the first matches where he's wrestling where the whole arena was like red light?
no,
It was like it wasn't like, so the lights in the arena were red, and it was like ambience, and it was a wrestling and he was just like built up as this like monster, right? And he's had some awesome matches, got the belt, and then all of a sudden, guess what they did? They fed him to Goldberg.
yeah.
But fed him to
Exactly.
Goldberg.
Exactly. I remember that.
I'm
See,
like,
I have a very unpopular opinion, and
mhm,
it's not because he died. I say this.
right.
I think in ring, Bray Wyatt was terrible.
Sure, sure.
I didn't like it. I didn't like the character. I love the Southern
Yeah,
hillbilly
yeah.
on the rocking chair. I liked that one.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
on the mic. He was good, and then he'd
Right,
start to ramble, and I'm like, "Where are you going with this?"
right,
And then after that, I'm like, he's just another
right,
good. Like it's just you have mic skills, and then I said it at the time. He was the best on mic guy that they had,
right, right,
but he couldn't wrestle to save his life. Like
right,
in my opinion,
right. But the only
So,
thing was is they had spent this time, they built him up, they built the Fiend up, and then they sent him out for Goldberg to speed him in. I think he beat him in like what, like 3 minutes or something like that?
yeah, something stupid.
And you're like, you just spent all this time building this character up, right?
Yeah,
And then just boom. And you're like, what is this,
yeah,
But, something interesting I heard was with Aleister Black back,
yeah.
that supposedly he's tied in with the Wyatt Six
I
somewhere.
hope so.
Yeah,
I really hope they actually do something with him, and he just doesn't fade into the background. Because I don't know I have a feeling him and Rusev are gonna
yeah,
just more Rusev than Alistair, but just kind
yeah,
of fade into the back. And I really hope they
yeah.
do that. So,
Aleister Black is awesome. Like
oh,
one thing that I did realize is in WWE, I didn't realize how great he was, right? And
mm,
he was actually one of them that went to AEW.
mm,
And when you watch his match, you're like, oh, okay, this guy's legit, man.
yeah.
He can wrestle.
And
He,
what I liked about it was he carried over the storyline from the previous
yeah,
promotion with the eye. That
yeah,
never happens, and he's still now. It's he still does the black
right,
and white eye or whatever. So
right,
that's continuity is a big thing in my book. You know what I mean?
right, right. It's kind of funny how you get a promotion and one guy, they leave a promotion, go to another, and it's like, oh, this is a new guy. It's like, you do realize we saw you last week on TV doing this. Like,
Mhm.
there's no escaping it. Why aren't you just continuing? Which is,
Exactly, and you go to AEW because I'm not gonna shit on AEW
no,
that much. Like
right,
we're gonna try to keep the
right,
criticism of AEW down to a minimum on the show because
right,
everybody and their mother does it.
right,
But I will say, I have to say that I we both hate that. Hey, you sign this big star, you push him for 2 weeks, and then he's on
right,
his couch for 6 months, not doing anything. We both hate that.
right,
But that being said, there were some signings that they did, and I really liked what they did with them. And then they just
right,
it lasted more than that, and then nothing. Like,
right.
and then there's some people that I really wish would get out of AEW, mostly on the female side, because
Yeah,
as me and you both think the female division in AEW is top notch,
right,
and they're not doing anything with them, and it's killing. They have some great
right.
characters. They
They
have
do.
great characters, and they're not
Right,
doing anything with them. And now
right,
now WWE has some talent, but it's
right.
not like the characters like what they have. So
Well, we talked about this earlier. So one of the underdogs that I root for when it comes to females is Jade Cargill. But I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up anybody saying that she's an awesome wrestler yet. She's not there yet. I think her attitude, I think her persona, I think her look is there. Um, but what I think they did is they rushed her to the big game.
yeah,
When they signed her from when they got her away from AEW. So
yeah,
the crazy thing is if you go back and watch AEW, her matches were pretty good.
yeah.
Now,
They were
I don't
simple, but
yeah,
you
they
know,
were simple, but she didn't look like she was stiff. She didn't look like she didn't it's like in WWE, she looks like she's kind of like out of place, right?
yeah,
Like her timing is off, right?
yeah,
Where in
yeah,
AEW, her timing wasn't off. And I'm like, they should have been like, okay, you're coming from AEW. Yes, you were a women's champion, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to put you in the power plant. We're going to put you in
yeah,
NXT, let you get your moves in, get you ready, and then push you up. Because here's my thing. You look at Jordan Grace, they brought from TNA, right?
yeah,
Jordan Grace should just have went to Raw or
yeah.
SmackDown.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. She
Having
she was
having
right.
right.
So,
She was way more ready than Jade Cargill. And I'm
yeah.
like, you've got
What's up,
her in
Black Manor? What's up,
NXT.
Lee?
What's up,
Mhm.
Black Man? But yeah, you've got her in NXT, and I'm like, this girl is a powerhouse. She can wrestle. She can move. Why is she not on the main roster?
Yes,
You know?
and seeing her from 4 years ago to what she
Yeah.
is now,
Right.
at that
Right.
world
Right.
of difference. And
Right.
she's definitely she has star power, but I don't know if she can ever. I hate to use the word the China syndrome, where you're a big,
Right.
powerful woman, but you're not going to
Right.
really. You might get over a little bit, but you're never going to be top of the company.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know though because she was really popular in TNA.
mm,
Um, I think if everything's storyline, right?
yep,
If they write the right story for her, I
yep.
think she could capture the crowd. But the other problem with WWE is now they have all this talent, right?
And not
And they
enough shows to do with
right,
anything with it.
and
Yep.
they don't know what to do with half of these.
And this was brought up a long, probably like 5 or 6 years ago, and I wish it would go along with it. I wish it would have a show specifically dedicated to the women. That
It
like
should.
that because they have enough talent on both brands where they can
Right,
actually do this, and it
right,
would it would make sense, and they could still have their female wrestlers on, Raw and
Right,
SmackDown, but then they
right,
have their own specific stuff. You
right,
know, New Japan has it, or I forget which federation in Japan has it.
right.
Stardom, that's what it is.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like I don't know why they don't do that here. They can make money doing it here, but I
right,
guess they don't want to put that kind of money into
right,
another weekly
right.
show. But
Speaking of the women,
I was going to say, because 4 weekly
yeah,
shows for one company, that is a
right,
lot. I will say
yeah,
that.
yeah. Speaking of the women's division, how much of a shoot fight did, the Charlotte Tiffany Stratton match turn into?
Oh, that was at first that was painful to watch. Like
Yeah,
they the first probably 3 or 4 minutes, they're like, okay, we're gonna let you guys have at it,
right,
kill yourself, and then after that, y'all got to get into the match. And Tiffany definitely showed the knots and the war room
yeah,
wounds, and the right
right,
person won because
right,
apparently Charlotte has like stupid a crazy amount of heat on her right now,
yeah,
and I personally I'm not a fan of hers
yeah.
just
I
because she I will say she does have the
Right,
prettiest moonsault I've ever seen,
sure,
but I just don't like it's her shtick is just old. She needs to reinvent herself.
right. And that's the thing is, I have nothing against Charlotte Flair, but I hate to say it, it's Tiffy time. It was Tiffy time. You
It,
know, um, she,
yeah.
I mean, if you look at it's almost like she's Charlotte Flair 2.0, right?
Oh, absolutely.
She's got the look, but
Yeah.
she was an Olympic gymnast.
Yeah.
So this girl can move, she's strong, she can do all that stuff. Because if they would have let Charlotte beat her, I'd be like, man, like this is just, all the build up and you're let her like lose at WrestleMania against Charlotte
Yeah.
Flair. And
Absolutely.
and if you look at that match too, dude, Charlotte went the extra mile to no sell everything. You're like, dude,
Oh,
she's no
100%.
selling
She
everything.
sandbagged her a couple of times when she's trying to pick
Yeah,
her up for a slam, and I'm like, and it's
right,
noticeable, like, because I was kind of like, I was texting you during the match, and I'm
right,
like, wow. And then I have
right,
another group chat with my buddies in there, and we were talking about
right,
this, and I was like, wow.
right.
It was painful to watch some of the stuff that they were
Yes, it
doing,
was.
and I was surprised that nobody else got hurt worse than they did.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Part of me was like, because remember, what is it? How many times she won it? 14 times or 15 times?
something like that.
And I thought for sure, I'm like, man, here's what was going through my head. I'm like, she's coming to the point where she's at that age where now's the time if they're going to give it to her. They're going to
Yeah.
have to because she's getting older or whatever. But I'm like, man, they're going to have her tie her father
Yep.
with championship runs. She's going to have a quick little run and then lose it. But I was like, I hope that doesn't happen because
Yep.
Tiffany, they built her up, and
Yep.
yeah. So, but
And
I'm
now
glad
they're
Tiffany won.
yeah, now they're doing a whole storyline where it's supposed to be her and Jade, and then my girl
Yeah,
Nia. I'm a big Nia Jax fan,
yeah,
for
right,
personal reasons. I'm not going to go
right,
too much into detail about that, but you can kind of guess.
right,
And whatever they're doing with Naomi, so that
right,
looks like it's going to be an interesting 4 or 5 way. So
right.
that should be something.
Speaking of Naomi, I mean, she has really reinvented herself as a heel.
Yeah, she has. I'm just don't know what
Yeah,
the hell they're doing with her outfit. Like the
yeah,
costume, is that
yeah.
just trying to make you dangerous? Because like now you're
Remember,
just looking like a traffic accident.
right? Did you see the one night where she had the razor blades in her hair?
I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Her whole hair getup was like razor blades, and I'm like, okay, but yeah,
That's
I mean, just it'll be interesting to see what they're gonna do with her.
yep. Yep.
And I still wonder. I'm still thinking at some point. I think Bianca Belair is gonna turn heel too.
Oh no, she's doing it now.
Yeah,
She's in the
yeah,
process of becoming a heel,
right,
and
right,
you saw with the whole Jade thing. So that's
yeah,
gonna be the. I don't know if
yeah,
they're gonna. They're not done with that story. So
right,
she's already becoming the heel, which is great
right,
because like Bianca can. Bianca
yeah,
can smile at you with that smile of hers, and then punch you in
right,
the face and not have any problems with that. So
right. The only problem is they've got to get Jade up to speed
yeah,
because just sitting right now, if they had a Jade Bianca match, there's no way that Bianca would lose to Jade as far as wrestling ability.
Oh, absolutely not. It would have to be some sort of interference, some sort of wonky.
Right,
And
right,
and what's really killing me is they're doing that with those women, but
right,
Bailey, they're not doing anything, and
right,
she's starting to get frustrated with it, which is kind of
right.
crazy.
Mhm.
Among a couple of other stars, there's a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes that not a
Mm.
lot of people know
Right,
about. And
right,
unfortunately, I'm kind of a nerd, and I watch the other YouTube channels and go deep
right,
dive and stuff I
right,
should really know about. I shouldn't take it too seriously, but I do. And
right.
yeah, it's just like I wish they would do more with Bailey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You know,
she's a great wrestler, and they're not doing anything with her.
right, and that's the problem too, is because everybody, I mean, you talk about this when it comes to wrestling, every wrestler has a shelf life.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And you start approaching that and it's like, listen, like if you're gonna do something, now's the time. Like you gotta do it with them because 2 years down the road is
Yeah.
is not gonna be optimum time to do this, you know. So it'll be interesting. But let me ask you this, my friend.
Yes,
What do you
sir.
think about Yeet?
Yeah.
Yeet.
Um, you know what? Me, all right. So, as y'all know, I own Elegant Sasquatch grooming
Yeah, yeah,
company, and I just put out a Beardomania, the 4 new
yeah.
scents. Me and Jay were talking about doing a yeet scent and the jokes that we came up with, and
Right,
the reason why I can't do it because of these jokes now.
right,
But yeah, like I mean, I could see why. First of all, I don't know how the hell he got something that he said when he was drunk at a press conference over as well as he did. Because when Cody
right.
won, they were
Yeah,
drunk at the press conference, and that was hilarious. So that I
right,
give him props for that. I
right.
I'm kind of interested to see where they go and how much longer this is going to be popular for. I give them like maybe 3 more months, and then that
Well,
the Eid is going to get really annoying. You know?
well, here's the thing. As you can tell with it, dude, he gets the crowd going. I mean, he
Oh,
gets the pop.
100%. hundred
And I
percent.
mean, you know, as good old Jim Ross used to say, if it's putting asses in seats, that's what they're
Exactly.
gonna go with because it's good for
E-
business, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, but I enjoy watching them. But out of the Samoan family, I gotta tell you the superstar, the rock star, in my opinion, right now, the rock star of them all, dude, all gas, no brakes, Jacob
100%.
Fatu,
Hundred percent.
by
That is
far,
that is my number one wrestler right now. Right
right,
now in my book. Absolutely, 100%. I have a
right,
shirt of his. Unfortunately, it's a size too small, sitting over there for me, waiting for me to wear it. But yeah, absolutely. The Samoan Werewolf is
yeah,
100%. And what I'm interested in seeing this like 5-way match that they're going to be doing at was
yeah,
it SummerSlam or the next
yeah,
PLE or whatever it is.
yep,
I can't wait for that to actually happen. Even though there's 700 people in this match, it's gonna be
right.
nuts. You know?
I mean, when you watch this guy, how agile he is and the stuff
Oh,
he's doing,
absolutely. See,
and
I was a big fan of his on the indie scenes when he was doing that.
yeah,
He was
yeah,
heavier back then. He was like 325 doing
yeah,
moonsault at the top. I'm like, good lord.
right, right. You know what I think would be an interesting match once they kind of hit their peaks and their pace? Um, I think a great match would be him and Braun Breaker.
Yeah, yeah, because they did at one point they were alluding to
Yeah,
it, and
yeah,
then they went
yeah,
separate directions. So
right,
Ron has what Triple H says, long term storytelling. So
right,
that's probably coming down the line sooner than later,
for
you
sure,
know.
for sure.
But
Yeah,
Fatu will be heavyweight champion soon.
yeah,
Like probably by the end of the year, he'll be heavyweight champion, like I said.
right, right.
So
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's the
he
skills that he has.
yeah, he's one of the very few wrestlers. I was actually listening to Jim Cornette's podcast earlier before he came on.
Mhm.
He's one of those actually wrestlers that legitimately looks like he's crazy and he's about to
Yeah,
snap at any moment. And
right,
it's the eyes, man. It's the eyes and the grill. I mean, you put a grill on
right,
it. You put a grill on a Chihuahua, and it looks even meaner. But
right, right.
yeah, it's the
Well,
gold teeth in the eyes. Yeah.
I mean, he comes from the Haku bloodline, right?
I think so. Yeah. The Haku
Yeah.
bone. Yeah.
Now,
So
now Haku, is the guy that everybody was like, this guy, like every wrestler that's ever talked about Haku is like, if you're ever in a bar fight, this is
That's
the
the guy.
guy you
I
want
mean, he
because
bit off a guy's nose one time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So,
I mean, legit tough guy right there.
yep.
Legit. Legit. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But Jacob Fatu is awesome, man. I can't wait to see him like really go in. You know, I was kind of I like LA Knight, but I'm like, you know what? Like he got his belt, he had his little run. Jacob Fatu's got to get it so he can springboard off this and just go.
Exactly, exactly, and I can't wait to see what they actually do with Jacob's career. I'm
Yeah,
not a fan of LA Knight because LA Knight is just basically he's taking what The Rock was back in the '90s and
it's
just
Stone Cold.
and it's just like I get it. You took these legends, but you can't
Right.
repurpose something that's already been done. It's
You
not
know though,
at least not in the wrestling world and get over with it.
you know, because that's like when I first saw him, I'm like, dude, this is The Rock and Stone Cold put together.
Yeah,
Now, now, to be fair, I mean, it's kind of ingenious for a little bit because I mean he did get that crowd pop and he did have the popularity, you know, and it kind of pushed him in the right direction,
yeah.
you know. But yeah, after a while you're like, okay, because he was not
He was one of
Elias.
the male models at one point.
Wasn't he Ezekiel too?
No, Ezekiel
I thought he
was
was Ezekiel.
no Ezekiel was Elias.
Was it Elias? Because I thought I
Without the beard, yeah.
okay, okay. Speaking of beards, did you see Tommaso Ciampa had to shave it off because he hit
Oh
his
yeah,
chin?
that was. And he looks terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he lost all his superpowers. I mean, I don't know about
Right.
you, but I
Yeah.
lose all mine when this goes away. Plus, I lose the
Yeah,
wife too. But that could be a
yeah.
good thing, you know.
When I saw him, I'm like, "What?" I'm
Yeah,
like, "Man."
yeah. So
Yeah,
'cause I've seen him before without the beard, but not recently. You know.
right, right. But, you know, it's always cool right after WrestleMania, all the new stories that come out and then, like, all the
Mhm.
excitement comes because they really stack in stuff, you
Yeah.
know,
All the new
get
people come up from NXT and all that jazz. Yeah.
right, right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I hope that Gunter doesn't get squashed by Goldberg.
Me too. Like I said, I'm a big Gunther fan. Outside of chops, he's one of the very few legit,
Yeah,
true to wrestling. Bring back the professional and professional wrestling. I
right,
like I'm excited to see what Gunther does.
I'm not quite
right.
sure how to help you with that.
And my Alexis thinks I'm talking to her. All right, so
Yeah.
but
You know,
yeah, so it's going to be fun in the upcoming months. Yeah.
right, I just hope he doesn't get squashed, you know, and then, like, for my thing too was is, you know, I was so let me ask you this. Here's something I don't think I've ever asked you. The only reason I was hoping that Brock Lesnar was gonna come back was not to be a world champion, right?
Mhm.
My thing was this: when you looked at Undertaker's career at the end, right? Undertaker was that guy that didn't need to have the belt on him. Why? Because you knew he was the badass. He came in and he just whooped ass and took off, right? I think Brock could have filled that role where, listen, this guy doesn't need the belt on him. Everybody knows how much of a badass he is. He can just come down, do his thing,
Yeah.
and then leave, you know?
But the issue with that is because Brock gets paid so much per
Right,
match for so many
right,
matches, it's you
right,
can't have him as a secondary card. That's the
right,
only issue is because you
right,
know he's not going after the Intercontinental title or in that
right,
hunt, and you're paying
right.
him $10 million for 7 matches. No, it's never going to happen. You know,
Well, you know what they
unless you're
could
Tony
do?
Khan.
No, no, let me ask you this, though. What they could do is bring him back
Uh,
and let him beat John Cena. Instead of 28 suplexes, he gives John about 35.
uh,
And then it's
and
done.
then John Cena's bald spot gets even bigger. Yeah, okay.
Right, 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 you know, and then it's gone and everybody's happy and he can be
Yeah,
like, "Okay, time to go." You know what I mean?
exactly. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to the next couple of months, see what comes up. Can't wait for the
Right,
next couple months of this show. It's going to be great. You
right,
get to
right.
see two. It's basically two weirdos with beards talking wrestling. That's what it is.
Right,
So
right.
yeah.
Um,
So
so in case, I mean, it's not a shameless plug, but if you guys have not seen Elegant Sasquatch drop, he's got, it's $50 for the 4 beard
the
oil
four
pack.
pack.
Yep.
I did just recently do a limited restock. I made basically five more of each one. I think I have like
Right,
two or three left, and I have
right,
I think two or three left of the 5 packs or the
right,
4 packs. Um, I got one that smells like leather, one that's really earthy, almost smells like death, aquatic one, and then a tropical one, which I all
right,
out of my comfort zones. I'm not used to doing it. Plus, I did
right,
something for the first time that I've never done before. I actually put artwork on my packaging.
right, right,
I upgraded my labels. I got so I went a little bit heavier now.
right,
And then actually going forward, I'm gonna be doing more artwork. But I'm actually
right,
gonna, and I know some of us are bottle collectors. I'm actually going
right.
to be doing chase variants of this artwork. So you're going to get 99.9% of the people are going to get one bottle, and every random bottle is going to have a different label than the rest of them. Same
Nice,
scent, just
nice.
different label. So
Right,
I'm not going to be making a lot of those, so they're going to be
right.
collectors. So,
Right, and, I will be dropping, I did a review today, kind of
yes,
in-bottle review of it, I'll be dropping it tomorrow. 30 Spray Ray J says, "Let me in with you guys, I'll tell you what, we will be having guests on the show."
yes, absolutely. We got one.
Yep,
We got my buddy Nick lined up for next week. He's a
right,
fantastic artist. You can barely see it, but he did this Macho Man drawing. There's an Iron Sheik one up there. He's
right,
fantastic. Yeah, but we're gonna have guests.
right.
I don't know where this show's gonna go, but we're gonna get weird and weird and
We're
weird. So
we're gonna have fun, we're gonna have fun,
absolutely,
that's what it's all
absolutely.
about.
So,
Yep,
what's up,
yep,
Bishop?
yep. Oh,
So
Bishop making it in. Yep, what's up, Bishop? Yeah,
thanks,
but
Lee. I
yeah,
appreciate it, especially coming from you, sir. I appreciate that.
right.
So
But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting with all the matches coming up.
yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, great first episode. I kind of want to
100%.
just give a background of like wrestling with what our thoughts are, kind of like our point of views, who we
Yeah.
like and stuff like that.
And
Um,
if anybody wants to talk about anything, shoot us a message. We'll put it on the itinerary. We'll talk. We'll try to get to it one thing
right,
after another. I mean, it doesn't have to be wrestling, but we try to make it wrestling.
right,
Or beard stuff. If you want to talk beard stuff, we could do that too.
right. But if you guys want, if you're any wrestling groups or whatever, and you want to share the show on any of the pages, if you can, let us know what just the Sasquatch and I mean, I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm pretty much a fan, but yeah, we'll have different guests on here. And
Yep.
as always, man, we love and appreciate all of you. Thanks for tuning in, making this inaugural episode awesome. You'll be seeing more of the Squatch and more of the Tactical Santa. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their Sunday night. There we go. You got to hit it, man. Number
That's terrible. Oh.
number one from day one, my friend. Thank you.